last time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
That was fun. They could have done more with Dolomite. They should have had him show up, but whatever.
Right.
It's one thing to talk about Dolomite, but you got to show Dolomite. The docking ring is now open. You are cleared to enjoy Audio Umox, your preeminent podcast discussing our favorite Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I'm Simon Van Gelder.
And I am John Christopher. How are you, my friend?
I'm well. I'm getting better all the time, man. I won't bore everybody this time with a health update other than to say that I'm still alive. And
Very good.
I know. 1,000 questions. But first, the Tranya.
Just going to say, I'm still going to open up a different drink for the Tranya if you want to get right to the Tranya. My drink actually is the Tussin.
Robitussin.
I've still got a cough. It's lingering. So
you're doing some Robo shots?
I'm doing some shots of the old, of that Tussin. So what are you going to consume while I'm miserable?
I still have not polished off the that bottle of Dewar's 15 years. So I'm working on some more of that this evening.
You still mixing it with Kool-Aid?
Yes.
This is that great flavored Tussin.
I think that's what's used to make a flaming moe, isn't it?
It is.
I decided to mix the little bits that were left in every liquor bottle. In my haste, I had grabbed a bottle of the kids' cough syrup. It passed the first test. I didn't go blind.
They say everyone can float in the Dead Sea, but Selma sank right to the bottom.
Huh? I don't know the scientific explanation, but fire made it good.
All right, so we didn't get to talk about Thanksgiving. I know you went to see the family, right? That go well, my friend?
Yeah, besides the health issues, it was very good to see the family. My family's in Oklahoma, and my brother, most of my family, my older brother lives in about 40 miles outside of Oklahoma City proper, pretty much out in the country. He's out in the country. And had a great dinner. How about you?
Stayed around the house, watched football, drank, and ate. So those of you who are not from the South, we're not raised in the South, and I'm actually a transplant. I'm an East Coast guy who got moved to the South, but spent many of my Thanksgivings south of the Mason-Dixon line. Traditional Thanksgiving in many homes in the South is really served at around lunchtime.
Yeah.
So served around 12 or 1 o'clock,
Yeah,
and
then you have
that. And then you have a second Thanksgiving when you pull all of the leftovers out around dinner time,
right?
And cook it a second time. And so that's what I did, and it was just a bacchanalian feast, of turkey and smoked ham and then all of the random soup vegetable mixes that seem to find their way to Thanksgiving tables, plus some nice desserts, homemade pumpkin pie.
Man. Your wife's pie always looks so good.
Indeed. So it was great. It was just it's a good time. It was relaxing. Used to be a Black Friday shopping kind of person, and have thankfully graduated to online purchasing.
You'll live longer.
So I was able to do quite a bit of that, and enjoyed really just enjoyed a nice long weekend. Even took the Monday following Thanksgiving off, so had a very long weekend, and stood further away from my razor and just enjoyed it. So
it did my heart good to see you do that. It's funny, I went to my family the weekend after, so the Thanksgiving Day actually I was with my family. Now I've been recovering from illness, but I managed to smoke a small 7-pound turkey. It was basically the kind where it's basically the breast or the back. You take the
right.
Yeah, and It looks kind of weird. It looks like an alien on the thing, but it was delicious.
Right.
Went
Yeah.
really well. Brined it for
Excellent.
12 hours and then smoked it
Wow.
for about 3, and it was perfect. But
Awesome.
I was going to say that, I also, over the month, I did the whole Movember thing. I didn't shave for the whole month, and I grew a decent beard. I kind of trimmed it a few times, and but it grew out enough to where I could have kept it, and it would have been fine, except that it was freaking gray.
Yeah, that's my problem.
I'm not
you know, I
doing
had
that.
I had patches of red
Oh,
in my youth. I had several patches that were very bright red when I was young.
oh wow.
And those turned bright white, silver white. I look like Mickey Rooney in Santa Claus is Coming to Town. So it went from red, and then he turns around,
Right.
and he's all white. That was me. And so after the weekend, there was no way I was going to leave it. And here's my other challenge, and it's a challenge that you don't suffer. I'm follically challenged. I shave the top of my head, so it's always peculiar trying to figure out what's the transition
Where does it
from
start?
beard. Where does it stop? And is it? Do you curve it around the
Oh,
top of
wow.
the ear, or do you stop it where your sideburn would start if you actually had hair, or do I taper it to a point? It just I can't make it work, so I just stop.
It does look odd. I mean, I've looked at bald men who started, right by their ear or whatever, and it's just always like, how do you?
Yeah.
I always think, how do you decide? But that's a great
It's
point.
it's a tough question.
Yeah,
So
I'll just say this about the beard thing too. Is it was the easiest beard I've ever grown in my life, because one, I didn't feel well and I didn't care, and like when I was a young man trying to grow, and I was too self conscious, and every day looking at it and messing with it and all that, but I just found it uncomfortable. I looked unkempt. I felt kind of scratchy, and but the fun part was when I shaved it. The day I shaved it, I kept like a kind of a bandito mustache for the day, and my kid comes home
Yeah.
and is just freaking out, loving it. So you look
Fu
like you look
Manchu.
like Uncle. Because I look like my brothers have these big mustaches, and my
Yeah.
wife comes home, and I mean seriously, she looked at me and she goes, "No." She was putting away groceries. She just looked at me and goes, "The Van Gelder mustache. I'll tell you." She's like,
go.
"Nope, not gonna have it." It was funny. She was really joking around because it looked very bad. So, well, it's good. I'm glad you had a good holiday. I'm looking forward to a nice, Christmas time. Here we are,
Sure.
in the midst of the holiday season. We're going to really talk about an episode of DS9 that, frankly, I it's too late for me to say, I shouldn't talk about this because I want to know exactly what you think. I don't want to influence you. I don't think I can influence you, but I obviously think
Yeah.
highly of this episode. And if you don't,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be mad at you or anything. I'm just going to be curious.
Right.
But I just can't wait to
Yeah.
find out what you think. So if you're ready to jump right in, why don't we just
I am.
let's
I
talk
am.
about Duet.
Right. So a freighter, a vessel, is passing through the quadrant, and one of their passengers is not feeling well. So they need to transfer him to Deep Space Nine for some medical attention. And they find out that he has, or they report that he has Kalanora syndrome. And that kind of piques Kira's interest,
Right.
and she says she wants to greet this person.
She has like an incredible urge for seafood all of a sudden.
Yeah. So they transfer the guy directly to the infirmary for Dr. Bashir to take a quick look at him, and
And she
And
says
then
to
Kira-
Cisco, "Commander, I want to go see this person because if he has calamari syndrome, not only do I hope he'll share it, no, that's a survivor of the Galatep mining accident at the labor camp there that she helped liberate 12 years ago, and that would
Right.
that would indicate that this is a Bajoran survivor, and she wants to go greet this inspirational symbol of the struggle
Right.
of the Bajoran people against the Cardassians."
Yes. And so she goes down there, and But lo and behold, it is not a Bajoran. It is indeed a Cardassian. And so she now has the opposite end of the emotional spectrum happening, in that if it's a Cardassian with this syndrome, then they probably worked the labor camp and were very likely war criminals. So she promptly places this guy under arrest.
He tries to escape, but doesn't. But Odo and company, they bottle him up pretty. He's a middle-aged old Cardassian. I mean, it's
It didn't look like he would have been able to put up much of a fight. So they take him on to the jail, and then the discussion starts from there. His claim is that he's just this record keeper, random record keeper. He has no he didn't know what was going on, and he got a job after the war to work at the military training facility, teaching record keeping is his claim again. And Kira is quite suspect, and wants to investigate further. So,
but she is not going to have any of that. And there begins a series of duets of interrogations. And we should stop for a moment and say that the character Maritza is played by legendary character actor Harris Yulin, who just look him up. But most recent thing I've seen him in, by the way, is the acclaimed Netflix series Ozark. Jason Bateman, Laura Linney. He has a substantial part in that. He's one of those character actors that he commands the screen when he's on. And no small thing, by the way, though, for him to do this under all this Cardassian makeup.
Right.
He does so much with his voice and his eyes.
Sure. Well, that's basically all he has.
Right. But I mean, he transcends all this stuff, and there's even a scene where he smiles. It's this creepy smile at her, and he makes he makes the makeup work as well. He just
right.
I think the point is just that here's this journeyman actor. He's not part of this company of actors who does this show. He just comes into this one-off. He's got less than a week, and then you put him in makeup, and he makes all this happen. I mean, it's really easy to forget how much talent that takes. So I keep that in mind. I've watched this episode easily 15 times, and I always find something that he does. So these interrogation scenes are probably what you'd call good master classes in acting. I as a former actor, I even looked at some of these scenes and I thought, these would have been great to take to contest in high school or college. Some of the, if you could put all the scenes between Kira and Maritza together.
Right.
It could have been well done,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a range of emotion there. They're both very conflicted. I think Kira is obviously wants to find the truth, but there's this anger there, and then it's great. It for me, very very good to watch. I was sucked in very quickly to this one.
I never heard of a filing clerk becoming an instructor at a military academy.
Until now.
What did you teach?
Believe it or not, filing.
I can verify that.
Be my guest.
I still think you're a liar.
So much for our search for the truth. Now we trade insults.
You admit you worked under Galdar Hill.
We all did.
I take it then you witnessed the atrocities.
Atrocities? What atrocities? Oh, I vaguely recall hearing screams from time to time. Atrocities, no.
You expect me to believe you knew nothing of the murders, the tortures. You never saw the bodies.
Of course I saw bodies. People died all the time at Galatep. Mining accidents, illnesses, feuds among the workers.
You're saying Bajorans killed each other?
At times. Over food. A blanket. A woman. The conditions were harsh. It was a labor camp, Major.
I helped liberate that camp. I saw the bodies. I know how they died.
You saw what we wanted you to see. Who do you think started the rumors about brutality at Galatep? It was Gondariel himself. Now that was a leader. Brilliant, extraordinary man. He knew that to rule by fear was to rule completely. Oh, why bother with actual mass murders when just the reports of such incidents would have the same effect?
Which was?
You know as well as I do, Major, to keep you, Bajorans, thinking of yourselves as victims, to keep you afraid and helpless.
Turns out we weren't so helpless. We did get rid of you.
Leaving was a political decision, Major. I've enjoyed reminiscing with you. Now I think it's time you let me out of here.
I can't do that.
Oh, no, of course not. No, you see, you're the one who's lying now, Major. It's not the truth you're interested in. All you want is vengeance.
Yeah, and so they've got kind of a back and forth. You know, initially, Kira has some issues with Cisco, saying, you know, I'm not going to let you handle this because you're too emotionally involved. But she's like, basically, look, as a friend, you've got to trust me on this. This is important. You've got to let me do this. And of course, right. Odo takes a back seat, realizes the same thing. You know, when Cisco acquiesces, so does Odo, and they just back up. And there is,
but unlike some previous encounters, I gained a sense that she was committed to truth, whatever it may be.
I thought so too. It didn't seem like a blind. I'm going to gut this guy from stem to stern.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it wasn't that. Nor was it. I'm going to just roll over. It was somewhere in. Unlike some previous episodes, it was. I will let the facts take me where the facts take me. I'm going to do my due diligence, my research, but I'll let them. I'll let the facts determine.
But make no mistake, she hates Cardassians.
She hates Cardassians, and particularly anyone who had anything to do with that labor camp.
Yeah, Galatep, you're dead to her. So it was, but she did come across. I am professional enough though to make this work. Interesting. The duet between them, you know, it becomes an interrogation, becomes a debate over the deaths at Galatep as being the result of fights. You know, he's saying between the workers and industrial accidents, and she's like, no, this is about the systematic abuse and brutality of the Cardassians, and he's talking about how he was working under Goldar Heel, who was a brilliant man, and he kept everything going, and you know. He talked how effective he was, and how you know, the rumors of about how having actually killed millions of Bajorans and achieving the Cardassians' main goal, which was to keep you Bajorans thinking of yourselves as victims, to keep you afraid. And helpless. Yeah,
the story being elevated as being greater than the actual act, and so which mirrors and mimics some of the alt-right. Of today, that the same text that the Nazis used, and those who were on the far right used after World War II to try to de-emphasize the atrocities, or to take away from those things.
Isn't it pathetic the way they'll say, I may be all right, but I don't think they killed 6 million Jews. I was like, well, how many did they kill that was acceptable? 5 million?
Yeah.
4 million?
Yeah. What's the number?
When does it become acceptable and you become not a monster? And so he Maritza is just this. There's just so many wonderful scenes. They each give as good as they get, and But I think he's got her on the ropes quite a bit.
Yeah, they're early on for sure, because it was as if she started, because of his delivery, she was, questioning, though she saw it with her own eyes. She had some doubts and was questioning some things, but then she tried to get some additional information using Commander Sisko having a nice conversation with Gul Dukat. Makes a nice appearance.
Interesting. Yeah, he FaceTimes in and he's like, oh, Darheel's one of our greatest people ever. Yeah, okay.
You don't need my help to safeguard one Cardassian citizen on your station. If any of these Bajoran hate-mongers get their hands on him, I'll hold you personally responsible.
And the thing that they realize, though, when they get through this, though, is they find a picture to try to determine if Maritza is who he says he is, and there was a name of Maritza, and they find it, and Dags finds a picture that I guess Dukat supplied.
Yeah,
they realize, oh my God, Maritza is Gul Darheel.
Right, yeah. Which I find that interesting that they're able to, from a technology standpoint, take a two-dimensional picture and then revolve around and get a dead-on face forward shot of the guy.
Hey, look, Blade Runner did that in 1982. So I mean, I don't know what the big deal is. But no, I mean, yeah, but it extrapolates that's probably Gul Darheel.
Sure.
And so Kira confronts him with this, and he accepts that, and noting that you can only execute me once, and then he starts taunting her with all his accomplishments, and rejecting the notion of war crimes tribunal on the grounds that there had been no war because they had surrendered so quickly, and he claims he did everything he could to wipe out Bajoran scum because it needed to be done, and he disavowed guilt, and it just goes on.
The Bajorans were a peaceful people before you came. We offered no threat to you. We could never understand why you had to be so brutal.
Well, we can't have that, Major. I want no more secrets between us. Anything you don't understand, I'll explain to you.
Thank you, but I think I've heard enough of your lies.
What lies? You mean my failure to divulge my true identity? Believe me, Major, I yearned to tell you, but I knew how much more satisfaction you would have if you found out for yourself, and that was my only deception. Maritza was a magnificent file clerk, and I, Gul Darheel, I hope you'll not think it immodest of me to say so, but I was a magnificent leader. Oh, you never saw Galatep at its height. For a labor camp, it was the very model of order and efficiency. And why? For that, you have to look to the top, to me. My word, my every glance was law. And the verdict was always the same, guilty.
You're insane.
Oh, no, Major. You can't dismiss me that easily. I did what had to be done. My men understood that, and that's why they loved me. I would order them to go out and kill Bajoran scum. And they do it. They murder them. And they come back covered in blood. But they felt clean. Now, why did they feel that way, Major? Because they were clean.
You admit your atrocities.
I admit everything. Why not? I was the best at what I did. My accomplishments speak for themselves. Can you say the same? You and that little shot car resistance cell that you belonged to, all you did was annoy Cardassians while I was out exterminating Bajorans.
Make sure you tell that to the tribunal.
Oh, I will.
And they'll sentence you to death.
Let them. Don't you see it doesn't change anything? Kill me, torture me, it doesn't matter. You've already lost, Major. You can never undo what I've accomplished. The dead will still be dead.
Right. Yeah.
And he's just gleefully, he's just
taunting her.
Taunting her and just eating up all of this emotion.
Right.
And then you're watching it and you're just like, golly, this guy is just flipping awful.
Yeah.
So let me get into, he keeps going.
I was 12 when I started fighting, but I've heard of some who were even younger than that.
Yes, let's get to the real issue. How many Cardassians did you kill? I mean, personally.
I didn't keep count.
Oh, I think you did. And I'm sure your total wasn't limited to military personnel. After all, The most effective terrorist weapon was random violence. Don't leave now, Major. It's just getting good. How many Cardassian civilians did you kill?
Look, I regret a lot of what I had to do.
How convenient of you.
We had no choice. We were fighting for survival.
So were we. We had an empire to protect. We needed your resources. Everything I did was for the greater glory of Cardassia. And if you spineless scum had to be ground under, so much the better. All that mattered was Cardassia. I loved my homeland. That's what justified my actions. That's what gave me strength.
Nothing justifies genocide.
What you call genocide, I call a day's work.
And there's some holes, some cracks start forming in his story. I don't remember all the details.
Right. Well, I mean, one of the things is that Gul Darheel was away accepting an award at the time of the accident.
Because your own progress report shows you were back on Cardassia at the time of the accident.
That's ridiculous.
Receiving your Proficient Service Medallion.
The reports are wrong.
I can show them to you.
That won't be necessary. I know where I was.
Why were you taking a dermal regenerative?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Then let me help you. 5 years ago, when you first got to Cora.
All right, that's enough. Your presence no longer amuses me. Get out.
Why did you have your face altered?
Security, get this woman out of here.
Why are you pretending to be Gul Darheel?
Why did you ask me something intelligent? As for instance, how did I feel when we were withdrawing from Bajor? The answer is I was furious. The thought of leaving any survivors behind was repulsive to me. So while our useless office clerks were packing their precious files, I ordered my overseers to begin slaughtering the laborers.
If you felt that way about your filing clerks, why did you take Maritz's name?
My plan was to do nothing less than kill every Bajoran in the camp. And to this day, my one regret is that I was not able to accomplish this honorable goal.
So he would not have had calamari syndrome.
He could not have had calamari syndrome.
Oh my god!
So that was one, and then
he had some knowledge of Kira's resistance cell that he probably shouldn't have known, or
right. And so that's when they started diving deeper into who requested information about Kira, and then the last part, the fatal blow, is what Bashir had found out, which is that he, whoever this person was taking some, regular medical stuff that an older Cardassian would need to take, but in addition to that, he was taking something that would help stabilize. I don't know, there's some kind of Trek speak here. Stabilize him after a plastic surgery.
Oh, like a dermal regenerate thing.
Yeah.
Skin.
Right. So he's on his skin juice. And
bow chicka wow. Skin juice.
Yeah. He's a miser.
Oh man.
Okay, so the skinflint is accosted. So Kira knows, and so she turns the tables now. So she's turned the heat on him because she's convinced now that he's irrelevant. He was just a record keeper, and he's just pathetic because he feels guilty, but he's not the guy who did it. And then he's fighting her for a bit. This is probably the one little chink in the armor for this episode for me, is he turned pretty quickly, a lot more quickly. And granted, it's you've got 40 minutes of airtime to tell a story. So, but he turns. He just breaks down at that point.
You're Maritza, aren't you?
You mistake me for that bug. That would bring nothing. Oh, you stupid Bajoran. Carl, don't you know who I am? I'm your nemesis. I'm your nightmare. I'm the Butcher of Galatep.
The Butcher of Galatep died 6 years ago. You're Eamon Maritza, his filing clerk.
That's not true. I am alive. I'll always be alive. It's Maritza who's dead. Maritza, who was good for nothing but cowering under his bunk and weeping like a woman. Who every night covered his ears because he couldn't bear to hear the screaming for mercy of the Bajorans. Covered my ears every night. I couldn't bear to hear those horrible screams. You have no idea what it's like to be a coward. See these horrors and do nothing. But it's his dad. He deserves to be dead. What are you doing?
I'm letting you go.
Security! Get in here!
You didn't commit those crimes, and you couldn't stop them. You were only one man.
Oh, no, don't you see? I have to be punished. We all have to be punished. Major, you have to go out and tell them I'm Goldail. It's the only way.
Why are you doing this?
For Cardassia. Cardassia will only survive if it stands in front of Bajor and admits the truth. My trial will force Cardassia to acknowledge its guilt. And we're guilty, all of us. My death is necessary.
What you're asking for is another murder. Enough good people have already died. I won't help kill another.
Yeah, so after that very moving breakdown, and she's just like,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't do this. You know, Kira
Right.
steps forward and is like, why are you doing this? And he makes it very clear he's doing it to try to save the very soul of his people.
Right.
He's doing it for Cardassia.
Yeah.
He said, Cardassia will only survive if it stands before Bajor and admits the truth. My trial will force Cardassia to admit its guilt, and we're guilty, all of us. My death is necessary.
Right.
And Kira,
Yeah.
to her credit, is like, another murderer is not going to solve this problem. You know?
Right.
So, she lets him out, and there's been a Bajoran character who's a drunk guy in the jail with Maritza early on, who clearly harbors resentment and anger. And as Kira is walking Maritza to the shuttle, saying, you're going to get some help back on Cora too. It's going to be all right. We wish there were more Cardassians like you. This drunken Bajoran guy leaps forward and backstabs and kills Maritza on the spot.
Yeah.
To which Kira exclaims, why he didn't do it, and the guy responded,
he's a Cardassian.
That's enough. That's reason enough. And she's like, no, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, fitting ending.
It's a heavy ending. So we kind of ran through it, and really one reason I kind of wanted to keep moving through is because I don't think it does any good for us to really rehash it. This is one you just got to watch.
Right. I would agree.
But let's be critical. Let's look at it, and see. What did you think? I'm dying to know what you think.
So I wasn't sure if this was the episode that you loved or whether it was the one coming up, and I was drawn in almost immediately.
Okay.
Once they started having that dialogue, that conversation, I could really feel Kira's emotion throughout. And I could tell she as an actress, Nana had really dove into this episode. I mean, and so that I enjoyed that. All the interaction between them. They're just the and the range of emotion from anger to pity to disgust to self-doubt. I mean,
Epic
just
sadness.
ran this full range, and discover the truth was I found very very intriguing. And then even some of the what may be considered smaller scenes, like Cisco trying to manipulate Gul Dukat in order to get the information that he needed in order to solve this riddle,
Right.
for for one of his staff.
It all worked, didn't it?
It all worked together. Yeah.
That's the thing too. This is a very talky episode, and but I love what you said because it drew you in. You even if you were resistant to it, and I mean, I think initially when I started watching it, I mean, this is 1993 or so, and a younger man, and I was certainly into great acting and scripts and stuff, but I'm sure I was resistant to Jan, a talking. Blah, blah.
Right.
Here's
This is supposed
Kira
to be sci-fi.
Here's another kid. Kira's upset, kind of thing. I was just drawn in. I was seduced by Yulin's performance because he, the Cardassians are very easy to play as a kind of a Snidely Whiplash kind of character.
Sure.
The Klingons used to be the Klingons. But to me, the Cardassians are a richer character that the Klingons, frankly, for all their bluster, never really were. And this is for another discussion, but I'm somewhat critical of what TNG in particular did to the Klingons. They became so domesticated and so one note, and it's all about honor and killing and
right. Yeah, it was. They were brutal, but I think the Cardassians were brutal, but it was for their self-interest, not for the sake of being brutal.
Yeah, and they're cunning, and the way their society is laid out, where in their judicial system you are guilty until proven innocent. In fact, they have a trial, but they've already decided you're guilty even before you have a trial. Things like that, and they're Garrick talking about their literature and how they know how every book ends because it's about the state, being right. This is brilliant stuff, and here you have Kira, who absolutely abhors everything the Cardassians stand for, and then you have this Cardassian who's playing to type. He's an evil, bad guy, and they caught him, and he's old and weak, and she's going to get him, and okay, interesting. But, he's kind of interesting. He's got some fight in him, and then it keeps going, and then you start going, wait a minute. And by the time the Duet changes the power position at least 2 or 3 times, between him and her and him and her, she obviously comes out on top at the end, but nobody wins. And the thing that I took from it, though, the most important thing was that this brought forward, besides giving dimension to both the Cardassians as a race and Kira as a character, how critical it was that Kira realizes that not all Cardassians are monsters, yet the monsters that are Cardassians are the absolute worst things under creation. But it's a distinction she'd never made. To her, all Cardassians were evil. All were monsters.
Right. Now
she realizes not all are monsters, but that makes it the ones that are monsters even worse. Does that make sense? To me, that's what it was.
Because they don't have to be.
Right. They're not just this. They're not like a shark. They're not a shark from Jaws. You know what I mean? They're not a shark. Yeah. They're not just a killing machine. There is morality. There is light and dark, and that's to me the kernel of this. I just found that just to be such a well written and well acted piece. A little on the nose at the end with the killing of him, but knowing that this is based loosely on, speaking of Jaws, Robert Shaw. Remember the actor who played Quint on Jaws? Yes. The late, great Robert Shaw. Well, he was also a playwright. He wrote a play in 1967, a stage play called The Man in the Glass Booth, which tells the tale of a Jewish man accused of being a Nazi war criminal. And that play is based on actual events that took place after World War II, around the Nuremberg trials and stuff like that. And so they kind of took that same kind of ethos and they put it into the Star Trek universe for this. So I think that this was, and like I mentioned earlier, this could be a good scene for actors to use for workshopping and contests and stuff like that. I think that this is a very theatrical script, and I think if you look at the way they frame the last scene, where Maritza lies dead in the middle of the promenade, and then all of a sudden a gathering of Bajorans comes around him, and Odo is just kind of loosely holding the guy who just murdered him, and the knife's on the floor, and it's very much like you're just waiting for the curtain to fall. You know.
And scene.
And I've even caught myself a few times watching, going, see, yeah. I know I haven't done a good job of hiding my emotions previously about this one, so I don't want you to feel, I don't want you to think, oh gosh, Simon liked this, so I must like it also. But I'm not saying you necessarily would, but did you find some resonance there that?
I did, and I obviously saw parallels to a number of social struggles. There was the obvious on the nose would be the Germany, Nazi Germany and those camps, but there was also, to me, just seeing some of those conversations are not dissimilar to conversations that I am seeing today between alt-right or far-right or Nazi or whatever the name du jour is, and then other races or current, some people in current leadership and minorities and those of color, that kind of objectification, and then the murder at the end being almost like a Bobby Kennedy, like
a Sirhan Sirhan.
MLK, where this person that could be an olive branch between two distinct and disparate people is taken away prematurely.
That is
and because of misunderstanding.
That's really good. That's a good one.
And so yeah, I mean, for me, I was drawn into. I didn't have the dialogue memorized, but I was drawn in because because they acted it well. It wasn't acty. Like I mentioned, the only hiccup is there towards the end when his turn. Giving up and breaking down, that happened a little fast. That seemed like a quick transition, but the episode was good. Was it a sci-fi? It wasn't. But Deep Space Nine is not a sci-fi shoot 'em up, lens flare kind of show. It is really about the characters, and so this was a quintessential Deep Space Nine kind of episode.
Well, and it goes back to Star Trek is not supposed to be in service to science fiction tropes. It's supposed to be about telling human stories, utilizing science fiction tools. And see, that's to me, that's a previous discussion we've had long ago on this podcast. Is what's wrong with science fiction to me is when it's really all about pew pew pew. Isn't this cool? And we're like wearing a silver lame jumpsuit, and we're gonna go Well, that's fun, I guess, but that's not interesting after a while.
Right.
I want stories, and I want things that resonate with me. And here we go. It's kind of like last episode. You made such a wonderful observation about the weaponization of social media, I recall, from last episode. You were talking about that, and now we're talking about yet another episode of a show from 1993 that at the time was probably talking about, looking back and talking about what happened in World War II, But here we are looking back from 2017 to 1993, and we're clearly looking at some of the same old shit being started again.
We're not getting any better. Yeah,
we're not. Look at Poland. My God, look at Poland. The rise of the far right, the alt right, is terrifying, and here is right here. If you can stomach 45 minutes of Star Trek, right here is a good example of what can happen when one society thinks it's perfectly acceptable to brutalize another.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or just chronic stereotyping of a group then makes them become something
subhuman,
less than you are, and then once that happens, it's a slippery slope. You then feel obligated to be rid of them,
right.
Or it makes it easier to blame them for problems, scapegoat them, and
well, that's right out of the Nazi playbook: scapegoat others, because it couldn't be anything your fault. It has to be because of those people that you don't have what you want, and that's right out of the playbook right now. And it's funny. I'm sure we're not losing listeners over it. If we are, adios, because frankly, not going to miss you. But it just stuns me that people are so up their own asses that they can't understand that about what's going on in so many ways. That is not to say that the left is blameless or that there are not things wrong with every aspect of society.
Progressives, agreed.
But my word, come on, it's the false equivalency of, it's ridiculous. This fair and balanced approach has been so destructive over the past 30 years. There's nothing fair or balanced about it.
I agree.
So I could go on about this one. I obviously love it. I will tell you, I will give this out of 5 bars of latinum. It's 4.5 for me.
Wow. I would give it 4 just because I don't know enough about what's to come. I'd hate to drop a 4.5 and not have anywhere up to go. But that's definitely the highest I've given thus far, and this is I would tend to agree that this is the best acted and written script and story thus far in the series.
I would challenge you, not challenge you, but encourage you, John and listeners. This is one I dust off about. This is one I dust off about every year and a half when I'm wanting to kind of catch up on, get into the world of DS9. If I say to myself, let's go through Netflix, let's pick up a season 1 episode, this is the one I pick.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, we got one more episode of the season coming up next week, and it's got its charms, but this was the one that I picked from season 1, and it's in my my top 5 of DS9 episodes. So just want to let you hear that. Deep Sex 9 on this one, not for me. I didn't see anything that was particularly sexy about it.
No, not at all.
Nothing, no romance, nothing like that. Just just to say is just that there's a line that Maritza has to Kira towards the end, and he says to her, when he's broken down, "You have no idea what it's like to be a coward, to see these horrors and do nothing." Mm-hmm. And he's just completely, just bitterly weeping and broken up about it.
Distraught, yeah.
Without being, Mr. Finger Pointy, but if you're seeing horrors today out there, if you're seeing things in your own life, and this could be anything from somebody, like I saw something online, a video of a dude at a store, and he told some little Hispanic American kids who were rowdy at the store to go back to Mexico. And these people just stood up and said, "They're from here and they may be rowdy, but you don't say that." And people got in his face, and they didn't hurt him, but they just made it clear it wasn't acceptable.
Right. That's good.
You gotta speak up. It's like you, John. I remember at a football game, there were some people who were being playing like at a tailgate, playing loud music, and it had violent or nasty lyrics, and we had small children there. And before I even knew what you were doing, you just went over to them and said, "Hey, I got kids here." They packed their shit and moved. I mean,
they did.
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
we weren't successful in getting the stars and bars removed.
No,
but,
well, we did shame some people, but it didn't. Yeah. Some idiot was flying stars and bars. But I mean, I didn't know. I was like, "What is he doing?" Oh, he's talking. Well, I stood up and I thought, well, then by the time it was just like they just was like, okay. So, but that's the point I'm trying to make is that don't be a coward. Don't tremble on the sidelines. Even small things, relatively small things like that, which could escalate if you're not careful. But you were careful. Sure. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm not even on a soapbox. I'm just asking you as a fellow human being and fellow citizen listeners to keep that in mind in your own lives. And that goes right along with, if you're at work and there's some sexual harassment situations or improper remarks, I think it's high time and safe and okay for everybody just to say, hey, that shit won't fly, man.
Right.
Or,
right.
Hey, lady, that's not good. That's not cool.
Yeah. Whoever. Yeah. Don't. Yeah. Do the right thing.
Right.
And it kind of reminds me of one of my military code of ethics, and just I won't lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. I mean, it's that simple. It's a do the right thing and expect everyone else to do the right thing as well. And it's a good ideal and ethic by which to live.
Exactly, and Shakespeare said, "A coward dies 1,000 times before his death, but the valiant taste of death but once. It seems to me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come." I, like you, John, I choose not to die 1,000 deaths. I choose to stand up and be counted, and I hope that there'll be no need for future Maritzas, and no need for duets like this in the future, though I'm not terribly optimistic, but I'm hoping. Excuse me.
Someday.
One fine day. All right. Pardon me for the coughing. I've tried to cut out as much of it as I could, folks. It'll just get away when it goes away, I guess.
Yes.
So, great episode. Next week, excited to be learn about Orthodox Bajorans. Here's another one, John. Okay, so next week, Orthodox Bajorans object to secular teachings about the wormhole in the station's school, causing tensions between fundamentalists and the Starfleet crew in the season finale of Season 1, In the Hands of the Prophets.
Interesting.
Here's yet another one that might have some...
It's, what's old is new, what's new is old, and it seems like we keep going around these mountains and never tackling them. So
it's a lot like
hopefully we'll get it right.
Well, I agree. It's like the Twilight Zone. There's one reason why those, even those corny episodes of the Twilight Zone, but that are still resonating with people 70, 60 years plus years later, is because these are themes that are evergreen, good or not good, but they are with humanity. So DS9 getting into this, and I assure you, in the 6 seasons after this, there's plenty more of that. And we'll talk about what we're going to do as the Audio Umox podcast with the next 6 seasons at the end of the next episode. John, what do you think? We'll talk about it then.
Sounds good.
We would just say this: if you want to put a little English on the ball to make sure that we're around as much as possible for the next 6 seasons, some iTunes reviews would be helpful. And your support, follow us on Twitter at Umox Podcast. Retweet us whenever we post about a new show. We try to get the shows out every Thursday or Friday. Again, due to illness, this one's a little late. The one last week was a little late, but we are going to do our level best. And we will let you know next week in our next episode where the future lies with the big show. So, anything else, John?
That's it. I look forward to it.
Me too, brother.
This is seeing you next time.
Such fun to see you and talk about our favorite show. So until next time, he is
John Christopher, and you are
Simon Van Gelder. And until next week, the docking ring is closed.